everyone, it's Taylor here, and today we are going to create 4 birthday cards using this one layering stencil. This is our Create in Quads birthday stencil, and it's designed to create 4 panels at one time. I'll also be using the It's Your Day sentiment set with coordinating dies, Mini Strips Birthday and the coordinating die, the Inside Scoop Birthday for the sentiments on the inside of my cards, and Stitched Frames Stacklets 1. For my blending, I have 3 full-size blender brushes in the pastel pink, hot pink, purple, and then a bitty blender brush. For ink, I have Strawberry Milkshake, Lollipop, Jelly Donut, Lavender Glaze, and for my sentiment stamping, I'll be using the VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink and embossing with clear embossing powder over the top. So I have my VersaMark pad, my powder tool, and then I'll also be embossing the mini strips sentiments with white embossing powder. I'll be using my funnel to funnel that back into the container and my little glitter mini vac to vacuum up any excess bits of embossing powder from my surface. I'll be using our Happy Medium iridescent glitter paste with the Nuvo Media spatula to apply that paste through the stencil. And then I have my Just Press tool that I use to press over the top of my Misty when I'm stamping. I'll be using foam sticky strips in the black foam color to adhere my sentiments, and then Post-it removable labeling tape to do a little masking. So let's get started with those stencils. I have 3 layers here, and when combined they make 4 different patterns and images in multiple colors. Each layer has alignment squares and an alignment guide. You need to start with a piece of 8 by 10.5 paper. So that's actually not quite full 8.5 by 11. Cut it to 8 by 10.5. I am adhering this to the back of one of our TE grid paper placemats to keep it in place because I don't want my paper to move between layers. I've added pixie spray to the back of the stencil, and now you can see that alignment guide around the outside. I lined that up over the top of my paper, and then I'm marking the squares. There are 4 squares on each stencil, so I've marked those on my placemat with my pencil. Now I'm using the Lollipop ink across that stencil. You can see that I left one of the presents open at the top, and I filled in the rest of the stencil. This is where I'm going to use a little bit of masking tape because I wanted that bottom present to have 2 different colors. The top of the present will be the Lollipop, and then the bottom will be the lighter Strawberry Milkshake. So you can do some of that creative masking as well. So I've pulled that first layer off, and now I have added pixie spray to the second layer of the stencil and lined it up using those guides that I marked with my pencil. So the same alignment squares on your second layer should match up with what you drew in for the first layer. As long as your paper didn't move, then you should be able to just replace each layer of the stencil as you go. So this is layer 3 with the pixie spray, and this time I'm doing Lavender Glaze. The second layer I used Strawberry Milkshake in case you missed that. So this is Lavender Glaze, the light lilac purple color over the top of layer 3. And then I'm going to come in with my bitty blender brush and a darker Jelly Donut ink, and I'm just going to add a little bit of shading and dimension to those lighter purple pieces. So just a little bit of extra dimension with the dual color on the purple layer. So this full stencil is just 3 layers, and really quickly and easily we have these 4 panels completed. Now I did decide to add an extra step here and use the Happy Medium glitter paste over the top of this stencil. I thought it was really fun to add some shimmery accents, and it does take a little while to dry, so just be aware of that. After you add the glitter paste, I would say give it at least an hour for that panel to dry. By the magic of editing, my panel will be dry and we can continue on with the project. First, I'm going to start with stamping the It's Your Day sentiments. I've got a piece of our sugar cube cardstock, and I'm not exactly sure which sentiments I want to use, so I'm just going to stamp all of them onto this piece of sugar cube cardstock. I am going to be embossing these with clear embossing powder, so I have conditioned my cardstock with my powder tool. I'm stamping with this new to TE VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. It is a beautiful black ink and it stays wet long enough for you to emboss it. And so I am just pouring clear embossing powder over the top. This is one of my favorite things to do to avoid using black embossing powder. I know not all of us are successful with keeping those extra bits of embossing powder off of our cardstock. So the black is really noticeable when you get it outside of the lines, whereas the clear, you don't notice it. So I love embossing clear over that wet black ink. Here I'm going to do the same. I have a piece of Oreo cardstock conditioned with my powder tool, and I'm stamping with VersaMark this time on the Oreo, using my Just Press tool to press across the lid of the Misty, covering it with the white embossing powder, and then I will I spilled a little bit of that embossing powder, so I'm going to grab my little mini vac, which I love this little guy. It just clears off so I don't have any gritty embossing powder on my work surface as I continue on with this. So I've heated that and then used my cleaning cloth to buff off that excess powder and bring back the beautiful black color of the cardstock. I'm taping down all of the dies using my Scotch removable tape, and I'll run those through my die cut machine to die cut the sentiments. You can see I'm also using the mini strips die to die cut all of the sentiments from that stamp. And once I have all of my sentiments finished, I can bring my panels back in and we can start arranging. So now that this is dry, it's time to cut it. The reason why you started with paper that was 8 by 10.5 is so that you can just do 2 cuts. You cut at 4 and you cut at 5 1/4. So you end up with 4 A2 layers, each sized at 4 by 5 1/4. If you start with a larger piece of paper, you end up cutting excess off of all of the outer edges, and it's just harder to get everything aligned. So here I have that stitched rectangle Stacklets 1 that I cut a couple of frames out of, and I decided on sentiments for each of the panels. So I cut those foam sticky strips to fit on the back of each of the sentiment panels, and then I will just adhere those down to the project. So the confetti on the left says happy, happy, happy birthday, and then we have the let's celebrate, the wish big, and the it's your day. I love using the new black foam sticky strips, especially when I'm using black cardstock like I did on the mini strip sentiments. It works really nice. So they also cut down really nicely and easily, and it's really easy to get the backing paper off of them as well. So if you don't want the black, we do have them also in white, and they are pre-cut in 1/8 inch strips. So now I have my liquid adhesive. I'll just adhere both of those frames. I did Lollipop for this frame, and the other frame is Jelly Donut. I like this Tombow mono adhesive because it gives me a little bit of time to wiggle that frame into place before it cements down and isn't movable. So I like that adhesive. Now you can see those 4 panels that we finished up, and we just need to finish them into cards. So here I have the black Oreo cardstock. I'm cutting those into 4 top folding card bases. So we'll just fold those in half and crease with the bone folder, and then we can adhere our A2 layer panels inside of those. I'm just going to grab my Tombow adhesive on the back. Sometimes I use tape runner. Usually it's whatever I have on hand, but it is nice to be able to wiggle these into place if you don't get them perfectly centered the first time. Now, one other thing I like to do, especially when I'm using black card bases, is to finish the inside of the cards. As you know, it's difficult to write on black cardstock. You can always use a gel pen, but I find that I inevitably smear something or mess it up. So I always like to cut down 4 by 5 1/4 sugar cube pieces for the inside of my dark card bases. And I thought since I'm doing that, I might as well finish the inside with a sentiment. So I'm cutting these 4 pieces, like I said, at 4 by 5 1/4, and I have grabbed the Inside Scoop Birthday Sentiment Set. The Inside Scoop is a series that we have at Tailored Expressions. It comes in all different occasions, so not just for birthday, but we have the Inside Scoop for anniversaries. We have the Inside Scoop for Mother's Day and Father's Day, and all of the different occasions, and they are specifically designed to stamp sentiments for the inside of your projects. So I chose 4 different sentiments, stamped those with the VersaFine Nocturne ink, and now I'm adhering them into the card bases. So all told, this was a super easy project. I created 4 cards in no time, and I can't wait to see what color combinations you come up with using the Create in Quads birthday stencil.